Have you ever heard the story of a mysterious island that disappeared under the ocean thousands of years ago? An advanced civilization, rich in wisdom and technology, living in a paradise that suddenly sank into the sea, never to be found again. Sounds like something out of a fantasy movie, right? But this isn't a Hollywood script. This is the story of Atlantis, one of the greatest mysteries of history, and perhaps one of the world's oldest unsolved legends. Today, we're going to dive deep into this mystery together, and by the end, you might just form your own answer to the big question: was Atlantis a real place, or just a myth? The story of Atlantis goes back more than 2,000 years. The only reason we know about it at all is because of a Greek philosopher you've definitely heard of, Plato. Yes, the same Plato who's famous for his works on philosophy, politics, and ideas about how society should function. Around 360 BC, Plato wrote about Atlantis in two of his works, the Timaeus and the Critias. He described it as a powerful and advanced civilization that existed about 9,000 years before his time, which would mean almost 11,000 years ago from today. That's even older than the pyramids of Egypt. According to Plato, Atlantis was larger than Libya and Asia combined, and it was located beyond the Pillars of Hercules. Now, if you're wondering what on earth the Pillars of Hercules are, don't worry. It's just the ancient name for what we today call the Strait of Gibraltar, the narrow passage between Spain and Morocco that connects the Mediterranean Sea to the Atlantic Ocean. So, in simple words, Plato was saying Atlantis was somewhere in the Atlantic Ocean, outside the Mediterranean world known to the Greeks. But Atlantis wasn't just big. Plato described it as wealthy, powerful, and incredibly advanced for its time. He wrote about beautiful palaces, great temples, and cities filled with amazing architecture. The Atlanteans, he said, were masters of engineering and technology. Their island had concentric rings of land and water connected by bridges, with a magnificent temple in the center dedicated to the god Poseidon. Doesn't that sound almost futuristic for a story written more than 2,000 years ago? Now, here's where it gets interesting. According to Plato, this great civilization wasn't just rich and advanced, it was also ambitious. The Atlanteans set out to conquer much of the known world. They built a vast empire that stretched across Europe and Africa. But eventually, their greed and arrogance led to their downfall. The gods, angered by their pride, decided to punish them. And in a single day and night of disaster, Atlantis was swallowed by the sea and vanished forever. So, was Plato telling us about a real place, or was this just a story to make a point? That's the big debate. Many historians think Plato was using Atlantis as a metaphor. You see, he loved teaching through stories. And in this case, Atlantis might have been his way of showing what happens when a society becomes too greedy and corrupt. But others believe there could be more to it, that maybe Plato was passing down an older story he had heard, one that might have had some truth to it. Think about it for a moment. History is full of cities that people once thought were myths until they were discovered. Troy, the city from the famous story of the Trojan War, was long considered a legend. But in the 19th century, archaeologists actually found the ruins of Troy in modern-day Turkey. Could Atlantis be another lost city, waiting to be discovered under the ocean or buried beneath the sands of time? Over the centuries, countless explorers, scientists, and even treasure hunters have tried to answer that question. People have looked for Atlantis in all sorts of places. Some think it's buried under the Atlantic Ocean, exactly where Plato said. Others have suggested the Mediterranean, near islands like Santorini, where a massive volcanic eruption destroyed an advanced civilization called the Minoans around 1600 BC. Some even say Atlantis might be hidden under Antarctica, or that it could be linked to the lost civilizations of the Americas. One of the most popular theories connects Atlantis with the island of Santorini, also known as Thera in Greece. This island was home to the Minoan civilization, one of the earliest advanced societies in Europe. The Minoans had beautiful palaces, advanced plumbing systems, and a thriving culture. But then, around 1600 BC, a massive volcanic eruption destroyed much of their island. Some historians believe this disaster might have inspired Plato's story of Atlantis. After all, it was a powerful civilization that was suddenly wiped out by a natural catastrophe. Sounds familiar, doesn't it? But there's a problem with that theory. Remember, Plato said Atlantis was located beyond the Pillars of Hercules, outside the Mediterranean. Santorini is inside the Mediterranean. So, unless Plato got his geography wrong, the Minoans might not be the answer. Now, here's another angle. Some researchers think Atlantis might not have been one place at all. Instead, it could be a blend of several different stories and memories of disasters passed down through generations. Ancient people experienced floods, earthquakes, and volcanic eruptions, and those events often became myths and legends. Could Atlantis simply be a collection of those memories, turned into one powerful story by Plato? But then again, what if there really was a place, a real city that sank into the sea? Modern technology has allowed scientists to explore the ocean floor more than ever before, and guess what? They've found signs of ancient structures in places where no one expected them. For example, off the coast of Japan, there's the Yonaguni Monument, a massive underwater structure that some believe was built by humans thousands of years ago. Others say it's just a natural rock formation. But discoveries like this keep the mystery of Atlantis alive. And here's another fascinating twist. Some people even connect Atlantis with advanced technology or lost knowledge. According to these theories, the Atlanteans weren't just an ordinary civilization. They were highly advanced, maybe even more advanced than we are today in some ways. Some writers in the 19th and 20th centuries suggested that Atlantis had electricity, flying machines, or other futuristic inventions. Of course, there's no proof of that, but it makes the legend even more exciting. So, what do you think so far? Could Plato have been telling us about a real civilization that disappeared? Or was he just creating an allegory to teach a lesson about pride and corruption? We've only scratched the surface of this mystery. We'll look at even more theories about where Atlantis might be hiding, explore the modern search for it, and uncover how this ancient legend has influenced our culture, from books and movies to wild conspiracy theories. And who knows? By the end, you might have your own answer to whether Atlantis was a myth or reality. So here we are, deep into the mystery of Atlantis, and the question still remains. Was it a real place or just a clever story told by Plato? To answer that, let's explore some of the most fascinating theories, discoveries, and even modern-day searches that have kept this legend alive for more than 2,000 years. Let's start with the ocean itself. Did you know that even today, in the 21st century, we have explored less than 20% of the world's oceans? That means more than 80% of the ocean floor is still completely uncharted. Think about that for a second. We know more about the surface of Mars and the Moon than we do about our own deep seas. If a city like Atlantis really sank thousands of years ago, it could easily be hiding miles beneath the water, waiting to be discovered. That possibility alone is enough to keep researchers curious. Over the years, many claims of finding Atlantis have popped up. In 2009, Google Earth showed strange grid-like patterns on the ocean floor off the coast of Africa near the Canary Islands. People went wild, saying these were the remains of Atlantis. But later, Google explained it was just an artifact of their mapping process. Still, the idea of Atlantis being near the Canary Islands is not far-fetched, since they're close to where Plato described. Another fascinating location is near the Bahamas. Have you ever heard of the Bimini Road? It's a strange formation of large, flat stones underwater near the island of Bimini. Some people believe it's the remains of Atlantis's roads or walls. Others argue it's simply a natural rock formation. Either way, it's sparked a lot of debate, and even famous psychic Edgar Cayce predicted that evidence of Atlantis would be found near Bimini in the 1960s. Coincidence or not, it definitely keeps the mystery alive. But not everyone looks for Atlantis in the ocean. Some theories place it on land. For example, In the Sahara Desert, there's a natural formation called the Eye of the Sahara, or the Richat structure. From above, it looks like giant concentric rings, almost like the design Plato described for Atlantis. Could it be that Atlantis wasn't swallowed by the sea but buried under layers of sand over thousands of years? Some researchers think it's possible, especially since the Sahara wasn't always a desert. Thousands of years ago, it was green and fertile. Now, let's shift to how the story of Atlantis has shaped our imagination. Even if Atlantis was never real, its legend has influenced countless books, movies, and ideas. Think of movies like Disney's Atlantis, The Lost Empire, or the many documentaries and novels that bring this city to life. Atlantis has become a symbol of lost knowledge, of a golden age destroyed by pride and greed. It's fascinating how a story written by one man in ancient Greece has echoed across centuries, inspiring millions of people. But there's another side to this story. Some people use the idea of Atlantis to explain mysteries that science hasn't fully solved. For example, theories about advanced technology, lost civilizations, or even extraterrestrial connections often bring Atlantis into the picture. Some say the Atlanteans were so advanced that they might have had flying machines or energy sources we can even imagine. While mainstream historians don't accept these ideas, they've become popular in books and TV shows, adding yet another layer to the myth. Here has something interesting to think about. Why does the story of Atlantis fascinate us so much even today? Maybe it's because deep down, we all love the idea of hidden truths and lost worlds. We want to believe that there's more to history than what we read in school textbooks. Atlantis is a reminder that our planet holds secrets, and some of them might be just beneath our feet, or under the waves. And let's not forget the lessons that come with the story. Even if Atlantis was just Plato's invention, his message is powerful. Civilizations can rise and fall no matter how strong or advanced they are. When greed and arrogance take over, destruction isn't far behind. That lesson applies not just to ancient societies, but to us today. Think about how powerful our world is with technology, armies, and resources. Are we really so different from the Atlanteans in Plato's tale? Could we, too, face downfall if we forget humility and balance with nature? Now, let's circle back to the big question: myth or reality? If we look at it scientifically, there's no solid proof Atlantis ever existed. No ruins have been found that match Plato's description, no written records besides his, and no evidence of a massive island disappearing overnight. From this point of view, Atlantis is likely a story, a parable created to teach moral lessons. But then, if we take the open-minded view, history has surprised us before. Cities thought to be myths, like Troy, turned out to be real. Ancient cultures we didn't even know existed have been uncovered thanks to archaeology. With so much of the ocean unexplored and so many mysteries of the past still unanswered, it's not impossible that Plato's Atlantis was based on something real, perhaps a memory of a civilization destroyed by disaster. So, what do we do with this story? Well, whether Atlantis was a real city swallowed by the ocean or just a powerful myth, it still has value. It challenges us to keep searching, to question history, and to imagine what the world might still be hiding. It inspires explorers, scientists, and even dreamers to keep asking, what if? And sometimes those questions are just as important as the answers. Before we end, let me ask you, if you could choose, would you want Atlantis to be real or not? Imagine if tomorrow scientists announced they found the ruins of an ancient city deep in the ocean, with technology far beyond its time. How would that change the way we see human history? Would it prove that we've lost more knowledge than we realize? Or would it just remind us that history is full of mysteries still waiting to be discovered? Whatever you believe, the legend of Atlantis reminds us that the past is not fully written. It's a puzzle with missing pieces, and maybe, just maybe, one of those pieces is lying deep beneath the waves. And with that, we wrap up our journey into the mystery of the lost city of Atlantis. Was it a myth Was it reality? In the end, the answer might be somewhere in between. But one thing, for sure, the story of Atlantis will continue to fascinate us for generations to come. If you enjoyed exploring this mystery with me, don't forget to give this video a like, drop your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear whether you think Atlantis was real or not. And, of course, subscribe to Beyond the Ages for more deep dives into history's greatest secrets. Until next time, keep wondering, keep learning, and remember, the past still has stories waiting to be told.